You're listening to another ASCII Lounge podcast.
Well, hello, ASCII members. Welcome to the ASCII Lounge. It's Monique Fennick here with you on the ASCII Lounge from Australasian Supply Chain Institute. And today we have our special guest, James Hargrave, Business Development Director, Asia Pacific for Adjuno. Welcome to the ASCII Lounge, James.
Thanks, Monique. Hi, everybody.
And James, we're going to be talking today about sustainability. You've met some of our members coming visiting Australia quite a fair bit, but you're based in Hong Kong. That's right, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah, the centre of our we have two main head offices, one in the UK and one in Hong Kong. And from Hong Kong, we cover all of our customers across Asia Pacific, and it allows us to be a lot closer to sourcing and to the vendors up here.
Yeah, great. And lots of shopping too. James started his career as a Mask graduate and has worked for a variety of global 3PLs through his career, focusing on international supply chain design and optimization. That's given you the opportunity to travel a fair bit, hasn't it, James?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm originally a New Zealander, and working in supply chains has given me the opportunity to travel all over the world, and end up here, right next to China and right on the doorstep of global commerce. So it's been an exciting journey.
That is exciting. And I remember when you presented to our members last year in Sydney as part of the ASCII Networking Breakfast series, actually, you were so engaging and had a lot of really great stories to tell. So we thought, why not bring you on the podcast channel and talk some more and find out some more about this topic of sustainability. You're pretty passionate about delivering best-in-class supply chain PLM and sustainable solutions to customers, James, across a number of different industry verticals, which is great. And we'd like to hear more about that passion.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, technology is on the forefront of where supply chains are heading, and that's why I was so enthusiastic to join Adjuno in the first place, and really look at how we can increase the collaboration and work closely with all participants in your supply chain and gaining the ultimate visibility, which is everybody's goal. So that's what we're trying to achieve. And sustainability is one of the real hot topics at the moment with most of our global customers. And our customers are really two locations. In the UK, we work with a number of big retailers, and also Australia is our second largest market. So working with a number of mainly retail consumer good focused companies, and helping them to look at collaboration and communication across their supply chain.
Yeah, it's a great topic. Maybe we should start with an introduction to Adjuno, a little bit about how you came to work for them and what attracted you to them, and how they've developed.
I was working at the time for I've been working for Damco and for Siva Logistics for a while, and being based in Hong Kong, I had the opportunity to join the Cargo Services Group, which is a Hong Kong owned international 3PL, and the owner of that company is very passionate about using technology to enable supply chain, and started this company, Adjuno, as a collaboration of a couple of divisions in the company to really look at putting together supply chain visibility with more upstream visibility, working closely with the sourcing officers and suppliers that we deal closely with. So we've managed over the last 4 or 5 years to put together a really comprehensive PLM solution, focusing on product concept and looking at how people are creating and sourcing products, and then be able to track that product right through the supply chain to when it receiving at the DC or on shelf, which is quite an interesting and unique solution, and it's been exciting to be part of a privately owned company that has a backing of a large multinational company, and the funds to be able to look at investing into it. So it's been a really interesting journey.
Yeah, it has, and you've been with them for quite some time, as I understand it.
Yeah. I've been part of the company for 6 years now.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to give us some ideas and some common pain points that you think your customers or retailers in particular, if you'd like to focus on one industry vertical, sort of what pain points do you think they're feeling and experiencing around sustainability, this topic of that we're talking about?
Yeah. So I guess the main issue is knowing where your products are actually being sourced from. And so one of the major issues and major trends that we saw when we first started embarking on this journey is that the customers are usually dealing with what they believe is a supplier to buy the goods from. Now, when they're dealing with that supplier could be purchasing even the same product from multiple factories. So when you're ordering it the second time around, it doesn't mean that you're buying it from the same factory. So gaining that visibility of where your products are actually coming from was the first step. And so, they've been doing a lot of studies around the world. There was one recently, in fact, in the last year in the UK, that said that only 6% of companies knew where more than 50% of their products were being made. So that really gives you an insight to how poor the visibility is that most companies have of where the product's actually coming from, and not only that, who's actually making the products, and have they been ethically and sustainably audited. So that's the kind of the so understanding and knowing is the first step, and then being able to actually view whether those factories are producing the products ethically and sustainably is very, very important. And actually, what we've been seeing is that companies like we deal with, like Sainsbury's in the UK, they actually believe that they can charge more money for, and that customers are willing to pay more for products that are ethically sourced. So they did a study and found that at least 1 in 3 people would consider paying up to 20% more for the same product, just to be sure that it's come from a factory that is producing their products ethically. And that's linked to the type of people working in the factory, the conditions, as well as the capability of the factory to actually produce it to a high quality.
Yeah, I can see why you are so passionate about this solution, because it's good for the customer, but it's also good for the business, and it's good for the suppliers too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we always go back to this topic of collaboration. So, really the role of the technology in this is to have a platform where your suppliers, your factories, yourselves, your 3PLs, everybody's connected to the same source of data. And when you're sharing information to the supplier, there's also a whole heap of other benefits that go along with it. Looking at speed to market, cost reductions, etc. And the beauty of it is that you're also getting the supplier to do most of the legwork. So with the solution that we have, the suppliers, when you're giving them access to the portal, they need to log in and create a profile for themselves as the supplier, or in most cases the intermediary, and they need to create a profile for at least one or more of the factories that they're dealing with. And then when you're placing your orders, sending it across to them, they need to confirm exactly which factory is making that product. And they can also link that to, component manufacturers or trims, or, if there's other factories that are involved in producing bits and pieces of the product as well. So, you're not only, you get the access to the information, but you're also getting the supplier to be responsible for filling it in and achieving it.
Yeah, that's great. I always say that our members are probably the most well-travelled business people around, because of the trend towards offshoring a lot of our manufacturing and heading over to meet suppliers and understand that the suppliers that they're working with are in fact ethical and doing the right thing. But will this I suppose this is an out of the box question, but will this actually reduce the travel time for some of our poor members who are constantly at the airport?
Well, it should do, because you can link to third-party organizations like SEDEX. During the onboarding process, you can have questions in there like, have you been audited before? Please attach here a copy of your previous audit. So, it's not a scattergun approach. It's a documented and standardized approach for receiving all of the information that you would need. If they haven't been audited before, then you can look at, what's the best way to find that information out and actually do the audits. And, traveling there and doing it yourself is certainly one option and definitely the best in terms of, making sure it's comprehensive. But also having this systemized allows you to have a standard process that you can roll out if you're looking to go into new areas, open up new markets, choose new suppliers. You've got a standard process in place that you can roll out easily and collect as much data as you can without having to go there and meet them.
And are you talking too about some predictive analysis and pre-planning and looking at different scenarios and so on?
Yeah, we're spending a lot of time and money looking at how we can use predictive analytics and machine learning and things like that with the solutions. Around sustainability, it's a little bit difficult. At the moment, it's really just making sure that you have the data. Knowing what problems are going to occur later down the track is, certainly the next step in the evolution. But, first step at the moment is really just getting on board and making sure that you have the information to begin with, and then, looking at what you can do with it later down the track.
James, why do you think ethical trade is such a big topic right now? It's coming from all angles, right? It's coming from the finance sections. It's coming from the marketing function. It's a big topic, right?
Definitely. I think, well, one of the big news topics, and I know it was on our agenda to talk about today, is the Modern Slavery Act that's come into effect at the end of last year. So it's now, people are required by law to know the information. And there was a lot of discussion about how the financial penalties are not that harsh, and is it going to actually drive people to make sure that they are collecting the information. And slavery is just one piece of the puzzle, but obviously a very important piece. The cost to the brand of not complying can be extremely high if the media and the NGOs and some of the, there's a lot of people going around at the moment trying to make sure that, and trying to put the spotlight on people who are not complying, and that the cost to people's brands can be extremely high for that. We saw in the Rana Plaza incident a few years ago, which was obviously just a terrible tragedy. But that really put the spotlight on companies to make sure that they're not only collecting the data, but they're able to represent their suppliers. They're able to, have access to the information and not have to run around and try and collect it once they've been contacted. So taking that proactive step to make sure that they're aware of the requirements and that their suppliers and their factories are compliant with it. And actually, we've got a really good opportunity here in Australia, because the Modern Slavery Act has been in effect in the UK since 2015. So they've already gone through 3 years of the trial and error and getting this process and the systems and the everything around it in place. So there's a really good opportunity for us to leverage that, to look at what big retailers in the UK or even small to medium-sized retailers in the UK, what the process that they've been going through is, and how we can apply that to Australia to make sure that you're compliant and make it as easy as possible.
And like you say, if customers are willing to pay for ethically sustainable products and items, then there's a business case just in that itself.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. If they're willing to pay some of the cost that goes towards making sure that you're collecting the data, then that's great. But like I say, the flip side is that if you're not sourcing ethically and you're not collecting the data, and somebody does do a study and find out that your products are not up to standard, then the damage to your brand and to your reputation can be enormous.
So in terms of this this wave of demand. What's next for our customers in terms of technology for sustainability and compliance? Where to once we do bed down this new process?
Well, so I mean, knowing who the suppliers are is not really enough anymore. You need to be collecting the and having a repository for all of the information to be able to provide it on request, or just make sure that your internal KPIs and your audits are being kept to. But this is only the first step in the process, and this topic of collaboration, especially with supplier and supplier engagement, also has huge other benefits that you can look at. So once you've collected the data on who they are and are they producing ethically, you then link that to your orders to make sure that none of the orders are, or you're not placing orders against factories who are non-compliant. But then, you can also look at a number of other things, looking at speed to market, making sure that they're producing on time, that they receive their raw materials, that it's going to turn up in Australia on time. Also looking at cost to serve. We've got a number of other modules that can link into a supplier portal that allows our customers to look at things like packaging. Making sure that the suppliers are, packing and using the right type of packaging, which can look at, other environmental savings as well as, reducing the amount of packaging and packaging waste. So packaging waste is going to be another big topic in the future. It already is in the UK again, and we see that the trends from the UK seem to flow down to Australia as the next step. So there's big penalties now for people who are not dealing with their packaging waste, and that's an ideal next step to look at after this.
Yeah, there's always something, I'm sure.
Always something.
So you say that a big bulk of your customer base is here in Australia. I hope that you'll come down here soon and share some of your knowledge with our members, and also bring your own customers along to those events too, so that we can hear their success stories.
Yeah, definitely. We'd love to do another breakfast event a bit later in the year, and we're looking kind of June, July to try and set something up to talk about this topic, as well as the packaging compliance and packaging reduction and optimization process, which is we're seeing that customers are making really good savings right across their supply chain through using that tool. So it'd be great to present that, show some of the case studies, and we're building a really excellent case study at the moment with Primark in the UK, who are saving between 20 to 30% of packaging costs, which is which should be really good case study to try and present later in the year.
Gee, that's an amazing amount of saving, and good for the environment too. That's a great result.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, and thanks a lot for the opportunity to talk about this today. I think it's a really key thing to look at this year. Is there's going to be a lot more articles, a lot more reporters writing about Modern Slavery Act and how Australian companies are complying with it. So it's a great opportunity to get on board and to leverage processes that are already in place.
Yeah, there's a couple of articles that I've already read on the Adjuno website, which I'll include as hyperlinks into the description of this podcast interview, because they're really interesting and very thorough in terms of looking at compliance and sustainability. And I believe there's a video of yourself as well, James, talking about visibility and transparency across the supply chain. So that's going to go in there too, if you don't mind.
That would be great. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, once again, thank you, James, for coming on the podcast lounge today, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thanks, Monique. Thanks for listening, everybody. I hope that was interesting and informative. And, of course, if you need any more information or want to talk further, then don't hesitate to reach out.
Yeah, great. I'll hyperlink your LinkedIn profile to the description as well, James. Great.
Perfect. Thanks,
All right.
Monique.
Thank you, members, for listening, and bye for now.
Thanks a lot.